بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my respected brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Yo Show Ask Eman. The show gives you the opportunity and the platform to pick up your phone and call us live here in our studio on 0203 515 0769. That's 0203 515 0769. And for those of you brothers and sisters who prefer to send us your messages by email or WhatsApp, all the details that you need to know, it's on the left hand side of your screen, bi'idhnillah. Brothers and sisters, I'd like to remind you this is Ask Eman Hajj special. So if you do have any question in regards to Hajj, inshallah, this is an opportunity for you, inshallah, to forward it to us, inshallah, and we can be able to answer it bi'idhnillah. So I'll be your host for the next hour, Mahmoud Yusuf. With me I have my beloved Shaykh, who does not need no introduction, Shaykh Wasim Kempson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hayak Allah, Shaykh. And how are you today, inshallah?
I'm very well, barakallahu feek.
Alhamdulillah. Shaykh, as usual, inshallah, if you can start us with a quick reminder, so that way our brothers and sisters can benefit from it, and we can get all our questions ready for you, bi'idhnillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wa sayyid al-mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All praise belongs to Allah. And may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon his final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So I begin with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. And I want to mention our position, albeit this is a Hajj show, but it has, I think, a strong link as well, even though we have more of a general advice. The Prophet ﷺ told us that towards the end of time there will be lots of fitan, there will be lots of confusion and lots of trials and tribulations for people. So to enable the believers, the Muslims, to adhere to the straight path, he said ﷺ, "Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnat al-khulafa ar-rashidin min ba'di," that you should hold on to my sunnah, my way, my tradition, my narrations, and the way of the rightly guided khulafa. عَضُّ عَلَيْهَا بِالنَّوَاجِذِ, that you should hold on to that even with your molar teeth. That metaphorically, that if you are not able to even to hold on with something with your hand, and that the only way that you are able to hold on to something, not to let it slip away, is to bite on it with regards to the sunnah, then you should do this. Now, when we think about Hajj, or when we think about ibadah, we should always bear in mind, we always should try to perform that act of ibadah or the way that the Prophet ﷺ told us. With regards to the acts of ibadah, or the Kitab al-Ibadat, the book of worship, the two pillars or narrations which you find the most narrations on are prayer and Hajj. And it is these two in particular that the Prophet ﷺ said with regards to the salah, pray as you have seen me praying. And also with regards to the Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ said, take from me the rights of your Hajj. So you find that there are various and lots, plentiful, in terms of narrations concerning how to perform these acts of ibadah. So alhamdulillah, really we have no excuse in when we're offering our salah, that we should always be looking to perfect our salah, to do it correctly, to do it in a way that is better and more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, with the Hajj, we know that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed Hajj only once in his life, alayhi salatu wasalam. But that being the case, you have, subhanallah, more than 110,000 of the companions, radiyallahu anhum, performing the Hajj, looking at the Prophet alayhi wasallam very attentively, looking at everything that he would do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in performing the Hajj. So we should ensure that even though there's maybe lots of confusion, lots of trials and tribulations, the way that we can find the best solution for ourselves and our families is to find out the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at those particular times, so that we can save ourselves from getting involved and caught up in all of that confusion, in line with the understanding of the companions radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. Is very important for us to take their understanding of the revelation. This is something I just wanted to mention. Allah knows best.
Barakallahu feek, Shaykhana. Inshallah, we're going to start with our first question by WhatsApp. Bismillah. My iPad was about to drop. So it starts with Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Why is the khutbah so important in Islam? خطبة, sorry, the Kaaba. Why is the Kaaba so important to Muslim in Islam?
So the Kaaba is important for a number of reasons. First of all, it is the first place of worship upon earth. And there are some narrations, subhanAllah, that go back to that Adam alayhi salam established the foundations. Adam alayhi salam established, the first to establish the foundations of the Kaaba. Even there are some narrations, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah mentions in his book, it's called actually The Beginning and the End, Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, that even the angels established or the foundations of the Kaaba. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, we know for sure that re-established the foundations of the Kaaba, where people will come to and establish their worship at this place.
No.
There is a common understanding, not so much now, alhamdulillah, but it may still be in the minds of some people that somehow Muslims, we actually worship the Kaaba,
No.
which is obviously is false. We do not worship the Kaaba. We only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is for us to be in unison, to be unified, to have unity in our worship. Not that Muslims are, when they pray, you find that they all pray in rows and that they all pray together.
Sure.
Now, if there isn't one place for us to direct our worship to, then Muslims are praying all over the place. Maybe they're facing each other.
No.
And maybe this person is, we've got their backs to each other.
Sure.
But from the, subhanAllah, the ways or the hikmah and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants the Muslims to be united on so many fronts. That the Muslims, that they are brotherhood, that they are sisterhood, that they help one another, they pray with one another, they support one another. We perform Hajj at the same time, we fast at the same time. You find so many things in Islam are there to push us to do things together,
Sure.
which strengthens us.
Of course.
And in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us in Surah Al-Anfal not to وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا, that do not argue, فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ, that if you then argue and you differ amongst yourselves, then your quwwah, your strength, it will disappear. وَاصْبِرُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ, that be patient, for indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the patient. So the Kaaba is a direction for us to come to, in that we perform our Hajj, our pilgrimage there, and that our ibadah, our worship is directed in this direction by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
طيب, Barakallahu Feek. Shaykhana, talking about Hajj again, inshallah, or the topic of Hajj. The brother or the sister is asking, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh, what is the difference between Hajj and Umrah?
So,
Although you can perform both.
yeah, I mean, in simple terms, you can put it as the Umrah is the minor pilgrimage, and the Hajj is the major pilgrimage. The Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam, and it is only a requirement for you to perform that once in your life. The ulama have spoken about the obligation of whether you have to perform Umrah. This is a different discussion. The Umrah itself can be performed in maybe a couple of hours. The rites, or that what is required from you to perform your Umrah, is only performed maybe in a couple of hours. And it can be performed at any time of the year.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hajj is over a period of days, maybe 5 days. And you do certain acts of worship over a period of days. And it can only be done at a certain time in the year, in the month of Dhul Hijjah. So these are some of the main differences between the minor pilgrimage and the major pilgrimage, the Hajj and Umrah.
Barakallahu Feek. Shaykhana, next question we have, starts with Assalamu alaikum via WhatsApp again. Is Hajj an obligation upon all Muslims to perform? As we know that some of us in the UK and living in a West country could not afford to go.
Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Imran, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right over people that they perform the Hajj, they perform the pilgrimage, مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, the one who has the ability to do so. So performing Hajj is an obligation, but it is only an obligation upon the individual who is able to do that. Meaning that they have the financial means to go and perform their Hajj. If they live within, a car's drive away from Mecca, then it's much easier for you. It's not going to cost you as much.
No.
But if you're a person who lives much further away, maybe you live in China, maybe you live in the Americas, maybe you live in Europe, maybe you live far away, obviously it's going to cost that much more.
Yeah.
But the obligation is only upon you when you can financially afford to perform the Hajj. Okay, this is very, very important. Now the topic or the issue of istita'a, or the ability to make the Hajj, is somewhat a longer discussion as to what actually comes under istita'a, or the ability, meaning that not only you are financially able, but you have the health, that you are physically able as well to perform the Hajj. So it's very important for us to understand the ability with regards to the obligation of Hajj. No, Allah knows best.
Khair, inshallah. Barakallahu fiqh. Shaykhana, you've answered, I've had 3 questions ready for you.
Okay.
But you've covered all of them by just this answer that you just gave. So which means I'm not going to have to go out. Well, I might have to ask just in case, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, join us after that break, inshallah, where we'll be continuing asking the Shaykh more of your questions, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, I'd like to remind you to pick up your phone and call us here in our studio to ask us any question in regards to your deen, specifically Hajj, inshallah, on 0203 515 0769. That's 0203 515 0769. So for me and Shaykh for now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my respected brothers and sisters. Welcome back to your show, Ask Eman, Hajj special. So brothers and sisters, if you do have any questions, inshallah, in regards to Hajj, please remember, this is an opportunity for you, inshallah, to pick up your phone and call us live here in our studio on 0203 5150769. That's 0203 5150769. And brothers and sisters, just in case you didn't know, that we are live streaming on YouTube, inshallah. So if you do have any question, drop it down below there. And if you want to use it, you want to use a social media platform, that's the opportunity you can go for, inshallah. And please remember to share it, so that way all our brothers and sisters can benefit, bi'idhnillah. But Shaykhana, like I said, you've covered the majority of the questions that we were about to ask, but just in case, maybe you can just narrow it now, inshallah, just in case our brothers and sisters didn't get it. So one of the question we have here is, what are the conditions of performing Hajj?
So, with regards to the conditions of performing Hajj, you have shurut al-wujub. You have the conditions of when it becomes an obligation upon you, and they are that you have the financial means, that you have also the health, and also that you've reached the age of puberty. So there's not an obligation. You might find a young child, mashallah, but he has lots of money.
Sure.
He may have inherited lots of money, and he is very healthy, but he hasn't reached the age of puberty. So therefore Hajj is not an obligation upon him. So you have to have reached past the age of puberty. Any Hajj that is performed before the age of puberty would not be considered Hajjatul Islam. It's not considered the Hajj that you're fulfilling, that is performed once in your life. It has to be done after the age of puberty.
No.
Okay, so sometimes you find maybe a family, they bring their young son, is 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10 years old, but he's not reached the age of puberty. He performs Hajj with them, walillahi alhamd. But when he reaches an adult, he will have to perform the Hajj of Islam. Yeah.
No.
He's rewarded for that, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. There's a
Tayyib.
great reward for that, but the Hajj of Islam has to be done when he's an adult. And also the financial means, and that is that you have, if you go away, you can afford to perform the Hajj when you go there. And if you have family who is remaining back with you, that they are financially stable as well, that you don't leave them in a state of poverty for you to go and perform your Hajj. If that was the case, then the Hajj would not be an obligation upon you, because you have to be able to afford not only for you to go there, that you have a safe way to perform the Hajj, but those who are left behind, that they can be financially stable as well. These are the main conditions of when the Hajj becomes an obligation.
Barakallahu fi Shaykh.
Sorry if I mentioned that something else.
Of course, go ahead.
And this is something specific to women.
No.
And that Hajj is only an obligation upon a woman with the previous conditions. And added to that is that she has a mahram to go with her. If she does not have a mahram, there is no obligation of Hajj upon her.
Barakallahu fi Shaykhana. Next question we have, Assalamu alaikum. Is it possible to give the poor the amount of money enough for Hajj instead of going to Hajj?
So a person wants to give charity to somebody to perform Hajj?
I'm assuming, no. Charity, giving that money to a poor person instead of performing Hajj themselves.
So if you've performed Hajj yourself, you've already performed Hajj, you've performed Hajj with Islam, and then you want to donate as money as a charity for somebody to perform Hajj, then you can do that, no problem. But if you yourself haven't performed Hajj, and you have the financial means, you're not allowed to give that to somebody else to perform the Hajj.
No.
Upon the opinion, upon the view that, because there are two views, is Hajj an obligation which needs to be performed the moment the conditions are fulfilled, or are you permitted to delay the Hajj? Okay, the majority of the ulama are of the view that the moment the conditions have been fulfilled, the obligation is al-fawr, immediately, without, you're not allowed to delay it, basically.
Sure.
So upon that view, and that seems to be the more correct opinion, Allah knows best, is that if you have the financial means and you've never performed Hajj, you can't give that money to somebody else because you have the means to perform Hajj. So therefore you should perform the Hajj first.
And just touching on what you just said earlier on about giving that money to someone who's poor to perform Hajj. So if I know someone who's actually managed to get, let's say, half of the Hajj package money, and I decided to top it up myself for them to perform Hajj, are they allowed to travel? Is this Hajj acceptable for them to travel with? Because although it's not their money, but somebody has topped it up for them, it's not a loan, it's been given.
Yeah, okay, so again, I mean, that person is halfway saved up to Hajj, so they're not that poor because they've saved up for half of a Hajj. And I'm assuming that money that they've saved halfway to Hajj is a surplus money that they have. I mean, it's extra money that they have. So they have other money that they can live to get by from one day to the next. At the same time, they still have extra money to save for Hajj.
No.
So, I mean, it's, without any great detail, I mean, you can't consider that person a poor person.
Sure.
Depending on where they are. I'm talking about from a person from the West, for example. Now, if myself, if I give some money toward them to top them on the Hajj, okay, you can do that.
Sure.
As a sadaqah for them.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for you to do, inshallah.
Tabarakallah fiqh. Do you get the same equivalent reward as the person's performing Hajj? As given with the intention of helping them out to perform Hajj?
Allah Kareem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous. So you seek the best reward, inshallah ta'ala, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows best on that.
That's the best answer. Khair. Barakallah fiqh. Shaykhana, next question we have here is Assalamu alaikum. Is it appropriate to go to Hajj by borrowing money?
Okay, so is it allowed for somebody to perform Hajj by taking out a loan? Is this allowed? It is permissible if a person takes out, and bear in mind that we're talking about a loan which does not involve any riba, no interest, no haram loan. But a person wants to borrow some money to perform the Hajj, that's upon them. They can do that. And the Hajj will be a valid Hajj, inshallah ta'ala, and it can be considered a Hajj for Islam. But the obligation, because they don't have the funds in the first place, there is no obligation upon them for them to perform Hajj in the first place. Some of the ulama have said it's no need for you to you shouldn't put yourself in debt like that, because the obligation is not upon you.
Sure.
Only when you shouldn't put yourself in any great difficulty. But if a person does that, it is allowed. It is allowed for them to do that. And if they believe that the paying the debt back is something which is very achievable for them, it doesn't put too much pressure on them or make their life difficult, then okay, you can do that, inshallah ta'ala. But remember, the obligation is not upon you until you have the financial means yourself without the need for taking a loan.
Barakallah fiqh. Shaykhana, we have a caller. Let's take this call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Eman.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Calling from Manchester.
Hayakallah, Brother Saeed. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah.
What's your question for us today?
Yeah, my question to Shaykh is, Shaykh, you were earlier explaining about the ability regarding performing Hajj. Can you tell me, within this ability consideration, are there any matters which relate to your own family circumstances, like for example where you may have quite young children, or you're caring for your elder parents, or similar sort of situations are there, and you want to make sure that those are looked after before you leave, or you wait until the matter is over, or something like this? Is there any such consideration there?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Barakallah fiqh.
Jazakumullah.
Tafadhal, Shaykhana.
So if I understood the question correctly, that is there any responsibility upon the person
Who's traveling?
going for Hajj
No.
that he has to ensure that other people are financially stable?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There is, yes, for those people whom that you are financially obliged to look after. So if you have a wife and children, and you're obliged to financially support them, then while you go away for Hajj, then part of the ability to do that, of your financial situation, of the obligation upon you, is that they are looked after sufficiently. As for your parents, then if they're in a situation where your parents don't have any funds, no money, and the obligation is upon you, then they would be under that as well. But if your parents are not in need of your financial support, then they wouldn't come under the need for you to, before you go away, for you to support them, because they have their own means of income. So it's only those individuals whom that you are obliged to financially support need to be looked after and to be stable before you travel for the Hajj.
Barakallah fiqh. Shaykhana, brothers, do you have any more questions? Do we have any more callers? طيب خير إن شاء الله. We don't have any more callers. Okay, we're going to go straight to the next question we have here. طيب this is again in regards to slaughtering the meat, inshallah, in the month of Hajj. Can Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can animals that have to be sacrificed during the month of Hajj can be slaughtered outside of the Haram region?
Okay, so animals that are slaughtered during Hajj or during the time of Hajj, they're done for different reasons. Now, for the people who are performing Hajj, those who are performing Hajj, if they are performing Hajj Tamattu' or Hajj Qiran, okay, which is the performing of Umrah with Hajj, either separately or together, then their sacrifice is made in the Haram, and that is a must. That is a must, okay, in Mecca. As for those who are not performing the Hajj, like we commonly know as the Qurbani,
No.
it is not a must for your sacrifice to be done in Mecca. Your sacrifice can be done anywhere in the world.
Sure.
And this is a common question, although it's not been asked. Maybe it's going to come up. I don't know. Allahu alam.
Can we answer this?
I've answered it pretty much. Okay, that's the answer. I mean, those who are performing the Hajj, your Qurbani, your Hadi, rather, it's not Qurbani, your Hadi is done in Mecca. For those people who are not performing Hajj, then your Qurbani is done anywhere you like. Inshallah.
Barakallahu fiqh. Shaykhana, brothers and sisters, please remember to join us after the outbreak, inshallah, for more Ask Eman. And the number you need to call, inshallah, to take part in the show is 0203 515 0769. That's 0203 515 0769. For me and the Shaykh for now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my respected brothers and sisters. Welcome back to your show, Ask Eman. The show gives you the opportunity and the platform to pick up your phone and call us live in the studio on 0203-515-0769 to be able to answer your question, bi'idhnillah. So inshallah, we're going to start with the callers, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Eman.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
What's your name, brother? Where are you calling us from?
My name's Abu Yusuf and I'm calling from Manchester.
Hayyakallah, brother Yusuf. What's your question for us today?
Just want to ask the Shaykh, what is the conditions of a accepted Hajj? A lot of people seem to think just going to Hajj and fulfilling the rituals of Hajj, that's accepted. They forget the tranquility and the patience that's needed and being sin-free. If the Shaykh can just explain that in a bit more detail, what is required for an accepted Hajj, and then what are the signs of an accepted Hajj, inshallah.
Barakallahu feek, Shaykhana.
What do you think about it?
Right. So this is the brother's asking a very good question. May Allah bless him. The hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that the accepted Hajj has no other reward except the paradise. Al-Hajj al-Mabrur. So the ulama have mentioned and touched on explaining what is the accepted Hajj. First and foremost, that like any other act of worship, any act of ibadah, it has to be done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has to be done for Allah. It can't be done for you to return back as I'm a Haji.
No.
You want to have this title, look at me, I done my Hajj, and suddenly, mashallah, you go back and look at me.
No.
This is not why you're making your Hajj, okay? Your Hajj is only for you to humble yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However much it costs, because you find a lot of people complain.
Sure.
Wallahi, Hajj is so expensive. Why these groups are charging so much money? If, subhanallah, you pay that amount of money and you performed Hajj sincerely and you fall under the hadith, man Hajj, whoever performs the Hajj, lam yarfuth wa lam yafsuq, they don't have any relationship with their family and they do not argue with anyone, raja'a ka yawma waladathu ummuhu, that they will return like the day that they were born from their mother. Believe me, the money that you paid is nothing.
Sure, of course.
For what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give back to you.
No.
So if a person relegates Hajj only as some form of, this is some transaction. You know, you go to the shop, you buy some new shoes, is it worth it? You buy a phone, is it worth it? Sometimes you don't think twice about spending £500 on a phone.
No.
You don't think twice.
Sure.
And maybe in a year's time you'll buy another.
No.
And if it breaks, you'll buy another. So the money that you spend on your worldly gifts and your worldly things is something that mashallah you don't think about too much.
Sure.
But when it comes to, you only have to do once in your life, you have to do it every year. You just do it once in your life. Whatever you pay, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give back to you. On the day of judgment, you would probably say to yourself, wallahi, if it was 10 times that money, I would have paid it. If it was £50,000, I would make sure I save that money so I can receive that reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
No.
It is what it is.
Sure.
Okay? If you don't have the means, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going off a different tangent here. I'll come back to the question inshallah ta'ala. Okay? But it all has to do with the whole topic, subhanAllah, about the accepted Hajj. A person shouldn't be complaining about what things cost. It is what it is, subhanAllah. Okay? It is across the board, this is what it costs. If you can afford it, Allah Azza wa Jal gave you that means, and be thankful and seek Allah Azza wa Jal. If you can't afford it, then make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't complain. Oh, I don't have this, I can't afford it, and people are charging too much. Rather make dua that Allah Azza wa Jal enriches you and gives you that amount of money that you can perform the Hajj. So when you perform it, you are happy. Okay, you are sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, that when you perform the Hajj, it's free from bid'ah. It's free from innovations. It's free from things that don't exist in the Hajj. Try to perform the Hajj as close to how the Prophet ﷺ performed the Hajj. That you're not arguing there, you're not fighting or cursing and screaming. You are there to be humble, to open your heart to Allah Azza wa Jal, to seek forgiveness for the many sins that you have accumulated in your life. And after Hajj, you will continue to accumulate, subhanAllah, because this is our nature. And that when you return from Hajj, that you don't return the same person.
No.
And this is what the brother asked also. The signs of acceptance, that a person doesn't perform Hajj and then go back to their own bad habits. I mean, you went there on the day of Arafah, raised your hands, and you say, oh Allah, forgive me, I'm doing all of this wrong and whatnot. And then you go back and you do exactly the things that you were going back to. Maybe, and it's not a must. It doesn't mean that, because all of us are weak.
صح.
and we have sins. Maybe a person does fall back into some habits. Okay, it doesn't mean that your Hajj is not accepted. But maybe if there is some difference, there is some improvement, or at least you're going on a different tangent, you're going on a different direction, which is something better, okay, then this also can be a sign. And Allah knows best.
Barakallahu feek. Shaykhana, may Allah reward you. طيب, inshallah, we're going to go to another caller, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Eman. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You're live on Ask Eman. What's your name? Where are you calling us from?
My name is Nazir Naji. I'm speaking from Northampton.
MashaAllah, brother Nazim. How are you today?
I'm fine. First of all, I would like to thank you and your channel for the kind help and support you're giving to the millions of Muslims.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And I've got the two questions to the Shaykh.
Go ahead.
First question is, Shaykh, when we're from Muzdalifah, after doing the Rami, if we come for Tawaf Ziyarat, but our Qurbani is not done, and can you perform the Tawaf Ziyarat before Qurbani, but you still stay in Ihram, you don't shave the head, and you can do the Tawaf Ziyarat? First question.
Okay, let's get the answer for you, inshallah. Go ahead, Shaykh.
Okay,
and then the second question will be.
No problem. Just stay in there and we'll get the second question after this.
Okay, so the brother's talking about when all the Muslims and the Hajjaj, they're in Muzdalifah, and they stay there at the night time. After Salat al-Fajr, on that day, this is the day of Eid.
No.
This is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. This is a very busy day for the Hajjaj.
No.
And essentially, there are 4 things for us to do. There is the throwing stones, the 7 stones, only at the last Jamarah.
No.
The last, the Jamarat, the last one, the big one.
Yep.
Then after that, there is the sacrifice that is to be done. And then there is the shaving or clipping of the hair. And then fourthly, you have Tawaf al-Ifada, or is also known as Tawaf al-Ziyarah. This is the Tawaf of Hajj.
No.
Now, there are different views of the ulama as to the order of these 4 things.
Sure.
Is it something which is quite stringent, meaning that you have to do these in this order? Or is it allowed for us to do these in a different order?
Yeah.
Meaning that if I threw the stones, and then I trimmed my hair,
Yeah.
and then I did the sacrifice,
No.
is that allowed? Or for example, I threw the stones, and then I went straight all the way to perform the Tawaf al-Ziyarah. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
And then after that, then I trimmed and shaved my hair. Okay. Now there are some ulama, and these views must be respected.
Sure.
Okay, we must understand that there's a great ulama who have these views, are of the view that they really should be done in this order, meaning that you throw the stones, okay, and then the sacrifice is done, and then you can trim or shave your hair, and then you can go perform the Tawaf al-Ifada or Tawaf al-Ziyarah. This is one view.
No.
There is another view that these 4 can be done in different orders. It is up to you. Okay. I think practically
Yeah.
that the throwing of the stones, because everybody's moving from Muzdalifah and they go to Mina, the easiest thing for you to do is throwing the stones,
Sure.
because everything is on your way.
No.
Okay. Now, if you've arranged the hadi or the sacrifice for you to be done by an agent, then you can wait for that to be done, and your Hajj agent can inform you that's going to be done for you. And then when that's done, you can trim or shave your hair. I'm of the view, okay, and I believe it's a valid view as well, that if you, after you throw your stones, and then you want to trim and shave your hair, immediately after that, even if it happens to be before the sacrifice,
Yeah.
then that's allowed for you.
Right.
Okay, that's allowed for you to do that. Or if you even threw the stones,
Yep.
and then immediately wanted to go to the haram itself to perform your Tawaf al-Ziyarah, that's also allowed for you to do. Okay. There is some flexibility in that. But as I mentioned, there are other views which are also to be respected. But this is the view that I believe is permissible as well. Allah knows best.
Barakallah feek. Does that answer your question for you, brother?
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, in such a way, because we're proud of our Shaykh. He's telling us, guiding us to the right path, according to Sunnah, MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Second question is, we come for the Tawaf al-Ziyarah. After Tawaf al-Ziyarah, we stay in the hotel because we don't know going back to our tents, and we wait some kind of transport to be provided privately by our, Hajj tour guide. But what I'm saying is, if due to some reason you can't reach the Mina that night,
Yep.
and the very late in the night, what is the position?
Okay. Barakallah feek. Is that last question you have?
Yes, that's the last question.
Barakallah feek.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. So the brother's mentioning that on the day of Eid, that regardless of what he's done before that, let's assume maybe he threw the stones and then he went straight to perform his tawaf. Now after the tawaf there is the sa'i as well.
No.
Bearing in mind you do one after the other. There's no sa'i before tawaf. Sa'i is only after tawaf. Now that night will be the first night of the days of tashriq.
Sure.
Now the staying in Mina is, according to some of the scholars, is an obligation. It's an obligation for you to stay at least half of the night in Mina. So whenever you find Maghrib is, on that particular day, when does Maghrib start and when does Fajr start? You work out the hours between Maghrib and Fajr, and then halfway between that, let's say for example it's, I don't know, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening is Maghrib, and 4 o'clock is Fajr. That's what? 6 and 4 is 10 hours.
No.
So you at least need to spend 5 hours in Mina.
No.
There's some other things, maybe we can mention after the break if that's
Sure,
okay.
of course. So let's do this inshallah after the break. Brothers and sisters, please join us after the break inshallah for more Ask Eman. For me and Shaykh for now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my respected brothers and sisters. Welcome back to your show, Ask Eman. Shaykhana, before we continue with the answer that you were given, I just want to make sure that our brothers and sisters who are waiting on the line, let's do those callers inshallah, Shaykhana, so if you don't mind, so then we can go continue with the rest of the answer. So assalamu alaikum, welcome to Ask Eman.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
You're live and Ask Eman, sister, what's your question?
My question is regarding neighborhood.
Naam.
Now, we normally feed birds in the garden, in our garden, but I think one of our neighbors didn't like it, and she asked me to stop putting food or like bread, anything in the garden.
Naam.
Because we're used to doing it. Sometimes I feel guilty putting stuff in the bin.
Naam.
And I want to know, and sometimes I feel like I don't want to, so I put it on the side of next to the wall where they can't see it. But I feel guilty that I'm doing it. I
Quick question, sister. Is this like dry food that you're talking about, breads? Or are we talking about any sort of food?
Yeah, bread, like rice, dry rice or cooked rice, which then we put it on the like trays to feed their birds.
Right. I'll get that question. So you want to know, is it okay for you to bin it, or you want to know, is it acceptable for you to continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
What is it? Which one?
If I can continue doing it, or if I should stop.
طيب, we'll get the answer for you, inshallah. Barakallahu fiki. Shaykhna?
Yeah. So, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Fi kulli kabadin rutbatin ajr." That in every living thing that there is a reward in that.
No.
And looking after birds and feeding the birds is something, mashallah, very good.
No.
And you can teach your children.
Sure.
How to look after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. So from that perspective, it's a good thing to do. Now we must also bear in mind that if you do this, it may cause an inconvenience to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can that possibly be an inconvenience? Right. Let's say, for example, I've got a loaf of bread and it's kind of gone stale, or there's some mold that's growing on. It's not, suitable for human consumption anymore. And I put it on a big tray, and I put it in my garden, and then about 100 pigeons, okay, they come and they swarm and they eat it. And with those 100 pigeons, they mess the area.
Right.
Because they can make a lot of mess.
Right.
Not just because they're flicking bread everywhere, but of course they're making mess by themselves, because they just do toilet everywhere. So trying to be explain it nicely. And maybe this is going all around the neighbor. The neighbor on the patio, on their floor. There's all mess around the place, and maybe it's causing them a big inconvenience.
No.
Which I would say then the right of the neighbor is more than the birds.
Sure.
The right of the neighbor is more than the birds in this situation. So if this inconvenience is there, you should stop doing that.
Sure.
Now, is there a solution to that? Maybe there is a solution. The solution to that is so that you don't have like a swarm of birds, or these pigeons, for example, coming to the area, messing the area. What you can, if you have a garden outside, is you can instill like these bird feeders that go high up in the air, which will only cater for 2 or 3 birds at a time.
Sure.
Okay, which will cause much less convenience to the neighbors.
Sure.
So what I would say is that if you speak to the neighbor, there's an opportunity for you to speak to them. You can apologize, and if that is the case, that you're just being swarmed with all these pigeons and whatnot. And also, it will encourage other birds. If you put these bird feeders higher up, or if you can hang the food inside a little basket, then these kind of birds that make a mess, they can't feed from them.
Sure.
And you get other types of birds who can feed from that. So you achieve at the same one time. You achieve. You get rid of the bread or extra food that you kind of you put out. Also, if you just put like rice and stuff, it may you may get like mice and rats as well. If you be careful.
That's my concern, obviously.
If you're just putting it on the floor, you see.
Yeah.
For this reason, I'm saying is that it's probably best for you to put the food up high,
No.
and you can use these bird feeders.
Sure.
Where you get the reward of feeding the animals, inshallah ta'ala.
No.
And at the same time, you can also because if it's continuously and there's a lot of food, then maybe you don't cook as much food.
Exactly.
Just cook, not as much food.
No.
And then you find that the waste is not so much, and you don't find yourself in a problem like this. But the right of the neighbor is certainly it supersedes you feeding the birds.
Sure.
But there is still a solution for you feeding the birds like this. Allah knows best.
Khair. Barakallahu feek, Shaykhana. Let's take the next callers, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Eman.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're live on Ask Eman. Sister, what's your question?
I have a question about aqiqah.
Tfaddali.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
And I was just wondering, my parents want to do the aqiqah for all of us. I was just wondering what's required. What animals do we have to sacrifice? And
When you
my
say they want to do
brothers have
aqiqah for all of us, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
Like for me, my sisters, and my brothers.
So
They haven't done it before.
the children. So they haven't done it before, right?
Yeah. No.
And they want to know what animals they can slaughter?
Slaughter, yeah. And do my brothers have to shave their heads after we slaughter the animals?
Taib, we'll get the answer for you, inshallah. Do you have any other question?
No.
Barakallahu feeki. طب Shaykhana, in regards to this question here, doing aqiqah
No.
for your children who have grown up.
Yeah.
You haven't done it when they were younger, but you've done it when they were older. Now they want to know what kind of animal they have to slaughter and what is the terms and conditions that they need to follow.
Okay, mashallah, it's a very good question. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٌ مُرْتَهٌ بِأَقِيقَتِهِ, which means, to translate it, that every newborn child is indebted for the aqiqah that is due upon that for that child. Now, if it wasn't done when that child was very baby, then it can be done any time after that.
No.
We know that the Prophet ﷺ told us that one sheep is to be slaughtered for the female, and 2 sheep is to be slaughtered for the male.
No.
Now, if there are 2 girls and 1 brother, that means that there are 4 sheep
No.
to be slaughtered, inshallah ta'ala. You can go to maybe your local butcher who can guarantee for you, inshallah ta'ala, that the correct animal
No.
is at least 6 months old. The sheep that is at least 6 months old, that they can be
The
slaughtered.
sheep has to be less
Yeah, more than
6
more than
months.
at
No.
least, yeah, you can't be any less than that.
Okay.
And it is free from any kind of uyub, free from any kind of deficiencies in the animal.
Yeah.
And then you can cook the food and you can invite people, things like that. After that is done, there is no need for the boy, for example, to shave his head. This is something separate from the aqiqah.
No.
And it would be done at the time when they are a small baby.
Yep.
If it wasn't done, it is missed out. It's not something you need to do later on,
Sure.
okay, when you're an adult. So the shaving of the head is something separate from the aqiqah. So if a person thinks, I'll do the aqiqah, now the son, maybe he's like 20, now he has to shave his head, we say, no, there's no need for you to do that.
Sure.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from them. And this is, of course, a very good sunnah for you to do, albeit a number of years have passed, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you.
Ameen. Barakallahu feek. Let's take a next call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ask Eman. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, good evening. I have a question. Everybody in the world is praying 5 times a day. What is 24/7? We have to remember all the time. If the Holy Book says kill, we kill. If the Holy Book says
Brother?
we kill. But,
Brother.
brother, listen to me, brother.
No, I can't. No, 1 second. I can't even hear your question. So what I want you to do, inshallah, slow down and ask the question. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What is it? Profit means making money. Well, Allah said profit doesn't count in his court. He said if you kill or you sin, you still go at the back of the line. I've got a friend, he was the mayor of London.
Right.
Line's not.
Brothers, are you able to hear what the brother's asking? Right. Go ahead. Continue, inshallah.
Hello?
Wallahi, brother, I can't understand your question and I can't hear you clearly. It could be the line, but Allahu A'lam what it is, but I literally can't hear or understand what you're saying, inshallah. So please call back again, and if it's possible, leave the question to the brothers in the back of the studio that is actually taking the calls, inshallah, and they can give me the question here live, inshallah, and I can ask on your behalf. Barakallahu feek. طب Shaykhana, we got another question here, inshallah.
While you're searching for that, is it possible for me to answer the question that was just before the previous bet
Go
concerning
ahead.
Mina?
Go ahead. Of course you can.
I'm
Go
sure the
ahead.
brother's still waiting. Jazakallah khair. So with regards to the mubit or the staying in Mina, the majority of the ulama is that you need to spend at least half of the night in Mina. So after you've done Tawaf al-Ziyarah and you're in your Sa'i, you should make your way back to Mina, whether it's in your tent or not. As long as you are in Mina itself and you spend the majority of the night in Mina, then you have fulfilled that particular part of the Hajj. If a person follows another view, that it is only Sunnah, then you follow that opinion, it is only Sunnah. So if you don't go, there's nothing upon you. But I am of the view that you should spend at least half of the night in Mina, and you need to be aware of the time that when you perform Tawaf and Sa'i, that you need to be back in Mina so you can spend at least half of the night there, inshallah ta'ala. Allah knows best.
Barakallahu fiqh. Shaykhana, next question we have here, we have 50 seconds. It starts with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please ask the Shaykh if we are allowed to put face mask during Ihram.
A face mask?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's better, more appropriate, that you do not cover your face while in the state of Ihram. The woman doesn't wear a niqab. She can wear a piece of cloth that goes over her head, if she normally wears that.
No.
Covers her face in front of non-maharim men. As for the man, then really he should refrain from covering his face if there is no need to. Okay, so you should avoid that.
No.
Is best.
Barakallahu fiqh. Shaykhana, brothers and sisters, we have come close to the, not even ad break. This is it, inshallah, brothers and sisters. We have finished the show. Please remember, this is the end of the show. So remember to join us tomorrow for more Ask Eman from me, the Shaykh. For now, till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.